Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you all. So today, I've got another brew I've been cooking up here, another list that I have been working on in the kitchen. It's going to involve punks and Assault Synchrons once again. This time, however, instead of sprites, we are mixing them with Thunder Dragons. So, in response to my Sprite Punk list, the one, you all know the one by this point. But in response to that list, a lot of people were asking, you're playing Cupid Pitch, why not play Corridor and the Thunder Dragon Colossus in order to kind of sneak that into end boards? And as you all know from my initial deck profile on the deck, I actually did have that package in there. I ultimately just found it to be to win more, honestly. Like, the hands where you're summoning Cupid Pitch, like, you're already going to go off anyway. And it's not like it's really something that's viable to do, like, outside of that one main combo line. So that's why I ultimately decided to take that package out of the deck. It just felt a bit win more. But that got me thinking, Colossus, in addition to some of these end boards of, like, Baronne, Pap, and other stuff, is actually really, really good. And if I can more easily and naturally incorporate Colossus into that end board, I think that would be definitely something worth exploring. So I decided to go back to the drawing board just a little bit, and rather than sprites as our supplemental engine, we are now using Thunder Dragons as our supplemental engine. As far as the package itself, when it comes with Thunder Dragons, there's not too many of them. In the main deck, we have 3 Thunder Dragondark and 3 Thunder Dragonroar, as well as 1 Thunder Dragonhawk. I initially only had 2 Thunder Dragonroar, but I wanted to put in a third copy of this card because I actually really like opening it. The ability to put an extra body on the board is really, really solid, and it's a lot easier to do that when you open with it. Not just because of stuff like Allure of Darkness, but the main way that we're going to want to get our Thunder Dragons into the graveyard is with stuff like Noh-P.U.N.K, Foxy Tune, and then we can banish them with Chaos Ruler. Once again, Chaos Ruler is going to be pretty much the focal point of this deck. A lot of the combo lines that we're going to be utilizing are going to be similar but slightly varied. And again, one of the main things that we're doing with these different combo lines is we're incorporating the Thunder Dragon Colossus into the end board, which even just Colossus plus Baronne, which is not that difficult of an end board at all to achieve in this deck, even that alone is like usually enough to stop most opponents, even Tearlaments players, from being able to make any significant headway during their turn. We are, of course, playing 3 Assault Synchron, as I mentioned before. We're still playing 3 Tuning as well, because much like the Punk Sprite deck, Assault Synchron is often what turns a hand from mid to excellent, and is how we, of course, bridge into our level 10 Synchros from our 8s there. We have the 1 of Gold Sarcophagus here as well. This isn't necessary by any means, but it's still very, very good. A lot of Punk decks utilize the Instant Contact in order to aid in their Synchro summoning, and I was considering using that as a supplemental engine as well, but the Thunder Dragons I actually like a lot more, not only because of their ability to generate more advantage than just activating like Instant Contact, but again, being able to put Colossus on the end board is super great. So Gold Sarcophagus is kind of like Instant Contact in that regard. Most of the time, you're usually just either going to banish a Thunder Dragondark to add a Hawk, and then that's going to let you go to Colossus, or banishing a Thunder Dragonroar, sometimes for even just another copy of itself, and then specialing Assault Synchron and going into an 8 that way. That's also a play I've made before as well. Otherwise, I mean, the main deck is, I think, fairly self-explanatory. A lot of it is actually really similar to our Punk Sprite list, right? We are, of course, playing the exact same Punk engine. We have 3 of each Amin, Foxy Tune, and Ogre Dance with the 1 Deer Note. 1 Deer Note is a lot less risky in this deck because there isn't really a combo line aside from Assault Synchron plus Gold Sarc, which obviously this is a 1-of, so you don't open this at all, but that's really the only instance in which you would Chaos Ruler before doing Punk stuff. In the Punk Sprite deck, I actually thought about putting in a second Deer Note, but I'll talk about that more, I guess, when we cover that deck again. But yeah, I mean, honestly, we have the same amount of disruption as before. We have the Maxx, the Ash Blossoms, and the Imperm. I do think it is important to have a playset of each, even in a more combo-focused deck like this one, because you do still need disruption, and you do still need tools for going second. As far as the extra deck goes, there's honestly a lot of spots in here that are like really wide open. Obviously my extra deck is 15 cards, but I'll be honest with you, I've really only used 10 of these cards so far. The 5 that I haven't used that are relatively open spots is, I say relatively because Shooting Riser Dragon, although I haven't summoned this yet, is in theory still needed. The idea is that sometimes you will find yourself in a situation where you can only get a 2 and a 5 on the board. The 2, of course, being Assault Synchron, the 5 either being Thunder Dragondark or Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note. So if you have Shooting Riser Dragon, with Deer Note in particular, and Assault Synchron, you at least have the option to then take that into a level 10. By sending a 5, reducing Shooting Riser to 2, and then using one of your level 8s in order to make a 10 from there. So, there is that. You could also, I guess, in theory, send a 3. It would have to be either Ash Blossom or Amin, neither which is that great, but that would make Riser a 4, which could also, in theory, combine with a 6 to make a 10. But, again, that's kind of meh, in my opinion. So, yeah, Riser Dragon is just there to make some dead hands slightly less dead, by at least allowing you to go into a Baron, if nothing else. As far as the other 4 extra slots, there's IP, Dharc, Knightmare Unicorn, and Avramax. I haven't gone into an IP line with this build yet, so those 4 extra slots are actually, those 4 extra slots are actually wide open. If anyone has any suggestions, definitely feel free to let me know. But yeah, I mean, I've combed through Synchro monsters, I've combed through links. There just really does not seem to be a whole lot else that I like proactively want to make in this deck. If I had a level 7 Synchro monster that was a better extender in this deck than Riser, or if there was like a Link 2 monster that banishes a card out of your graveyard, I would gladly take either of those. But again, I combed through the database, and I couldn't find anything that was really I thought was worth running anyway, but I'm definitely not, you know, I definitely could have easily overlooked it. It's not like, you know, that's an impossibility or anything. But in any case, that's going to go ahead and do it for the list. Now, I'm sure you're all eager to see this deck in action, so let's go ahead and break the list down card by card just so we all know everything that's in here, and then we'll take a look at those games. So we're playing 3 Maxx, 3 Assault Synchron, 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Amin, 3 Thunder Dragondark, 1 Noh-P.U.N.K Deer Note, 1 Thunder Dragonhawk, 3 Thunder Dragonroar, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Foxy Tune, 3 Noh-P.U.N.K Ogre Dance, 1 Gold Sarc, 3 Allure of Darkness, 3 Tuning, 2 Emergency Teleport, 2 Call by the Grave, and 3 Infinite Impermanence. That's going to be our main deck. One other thing I actually will say about the main deck real quick is, although I haven't found the need for a second Deer Note in this build, I have contemplated a second Thunder Dragonhawk, even maybe taking out a Thunder Dragonroar for a second one, because very occasionally you'll mill this and it kind of sucks, but I haven't found that to be super detrimental just yet. But if it turns out to be the case in further testing, I might make that adjustment. Anyway, now for the extract, we're playing 1 Thunder Dragon Colossus, 1 Shooting Riser Dragon, 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon, 1 Accel Synchro Stardust Dragon, 1 Baronne de Fleur, 1 Swordsoul Supreme Sovereign Chengying, 1 Psychic End Punisher, 1 number 38 Hope Harbinger Titanic Galaxy, 1 The Zombie Vampire, 1 IP Masquerena, 1 Cross Sheep. I didn't really talk about this card during the profile. Cross Sheep is alright. There are some combo lines that involve it, and then making the Colossus, bringing back a level 4 lower monster with its effect, usually going to be Amin, and then making Pep with the Chaos Ruler you've gotten back. So Cross Sheep actually does put in a lot of work in this deck. I really like it. We're playing Dharc the Dark Charmer Gloomy, Spright Elf, Knightmare Unicorn, and then Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avramax. And that's going to go ahead and do it for our list. Now let's look at some gameplay. Alright, so to start things off, I wanted to show off a game against Tearlaments, of course. I've honestly, for me right now, I know this is not the case for a lot of people, but for me right now, I've been having so much fun brewing with Assault Synchron, I like almost forget we're in a tier 0 meta. So I know, I'm sure a lot of you wish you could say the same, but anyway, my opponent's going to take the first turn here. I get to toss out an Infinite Impermanence to stop this Tearlaments Rhino Heart. This is a little bit risky. Normally, I like to save the Imperm for the Kick Loose and not shotgun it on the Rhino Heart. If my opponent has something like Shiren in hand, then this could look pretty bad for me. But this is something I've been thinking about a little bit lately. I just want to take a chance, like I said, and just see if it's actually better to Imperm the Kick Loose or if Imperming the Rhino Heart is sometimes right. Here, it actually ended up working out. So we do manage to get to go into our turn with little disruption for our opponent here. You see, they only have 1 back row. Could easily be a Solic. We could end up staring down a good bit of disruption if they send the Rhino Heart and then have plays, but I think it's fine to take that risk here, especially because my opponent has such like little on their board. But anyway, as far as which is better, to Imperm Rhino Heart or kick Colossus, I'm still trying to, I guess, figure that out. I suspect it's probably still kick Colossus, but I will be doing further experimentation. Anyway, using my tuning to bait out an Ash Blossom here, it's perfect because I already have another one anyway. Then I get to summon the Amin, fire off its effect for an Ogre Dance. I actually get to use my Allure of Darkness with that Ogre Dance here because I've already got the Foxy tune in hand, so don't need the Amin search for anything else really. I also got a Gold Sarc here, which is going to enable quite a bit of plays moving forward. So we drew the Deer Note, and we already have the Foxy tune in hand. I'll just summon Deer Note via its own effect, and then we can sync into Chaos Ruler. Chaos Ruler and Deer Note are both going to activate. Now, that is something that's actually, my opponent does actually have a Solic here. We'll talk about that in a second. But one thing I wanted to point out about plays in this deck, so in the Punk Spright deck, we would always bring back the Amin with the, the Deer Note. This deck is actually going to be a little bit different. We usually want to end up bringing back the Foxy tune instead to facilitate the plays that are specific to this deck. Sometimes, I don't think we do so in this case, but sometimes that does involve making the zombie vampire to keep extending. Obviously, this card, you gotta be careful how you use it in a tier limit meta, but, yeah, in any case, they have the Solic for the Excavate, which we actually don't even really need to resolve. I'm completely fine with that getting negated. I am a little concerned about the possibility, though, of my opponent getting to proc the Rhino Heart effect, which, as we can see, it turns out they do get to do here, so they're going to discard a Merly, activate both effects. So here I'm thinking, like, okay, they're probably going to kick loose for Havness, but, you know, I'm looking at my board state here, and my hand as well, and even if my opponent were to add a Havness with kick close here, I think I'm actually still fine, because I don't really need that many more on-field effects to activate. I've already got plenty of plays in my hand with these two cards, and I don't think any of that actually involves activating an on-field effect. But my opponent, to my surprise, actually does not end up going for a kick close for Havness. They're going for a Kaleidoheart instead. And looks like they're going to use that Kaleidoheart to put back my Foxy tune. They really should have put back my Chaos Ruler. Because now I just get to recycle it even more. But even if they had put back the Chaos Ruler, it still would have been fine. Because we can summon the Swordsoul, Supreme Sovereign, Chengying either way. So, now that Chengying is on the board, now I'll use the Gold Sarc to banish the Thunder Dragondark. Now, you might be thinking, oh nice, now you get to banish the Kaleidoheart. You don't have to worry about it anymore. But no, I'm actually going to banish the Solic, because I can already run over the Kaleidoheart in battle and it won't come back anyway. Whereas if my opponent top decks like literally any tier limit fuser with this Solic on board, that could very easily be very problematic for me. So I'm going to get rid of the Solic, and then I'll just battle over the Kaleidoheart. Oh, and then of course, because we use Gold Sarc on the Thunder Dragondark, we get to search for the Hawk, and that'll let us put a Colossus on the board as well. So, and then we even get to go ahead and bring out the Chaos Ruler once again. That actually wasn't going to be lethal right there, because the Thunder Dragonhawk's banish effect doesn't actually summon anything, but my opponent decided to just concede anyway because they'd be pretty much in top deck mode, and also under the effect of Thunder Dragon Colossus, which no searching definitely makes it much more difficult to top deck and out in that case. So, there is that first duel there against Tearlaments. Let's go ahead and go straight into the next game. Okay, so our next duel is going to be up against Floowandereeze. And in this duel, we'll get to show off how we can play under certain hand traps. So, going to start off with my opening hand here. It's looking really nice. I've got a Amin, I've got an Allure, I've got some, I got Maxx and Ash Blossom. Can't ask for much more. Opponent's going to throw out a Shifter, which is definitely rough. We obviously do need the graveyard for a significant amount of our plays, but not necessarily for all of them. So here I'm going to fire off a tuning, adding an Assault Synchron, and at this point I'm thinking I'm probably just going to have to end up ending my turn right here. If I had access to a Thunder Dragon monster, things would definitely be looking a lot different. I can make Colossus, and then we could stop our opponent from doing any searching. We could even further extend into our own plays, depending on which Thunder Dragon we hit. But we don't have a Thunder Dragon, so things are looking rough. Until we banish Thunder Dragonroar off the top of our deck. Oh god, that's so good. So, now that we've banished this Thunder Dragonroar, things are completely different. I get to special this Thunder Dragondark, normal summon Amin. I'll activate the effect, although I can't use Foxy Tune or Ogre Dance. in my hand, because they have to be sent to the graveyard. They're not discarded, they're sent to the graveyard. So Under Shifter can't activate them. Can still activate the Chaos Ruler, and of course we get to activate our Thunder Dragondark's effect as well. Dharc will of course add a Thunder Dragonhawk, and Chaos Ruler is going to do a bit of excavating here. There's not anything in particular I'm really looking for because I already have an Assault Synchron, but I'll take another one. Yeah, sure, why not? So now we get to proc the Thunder Dragonhawk's effect that will special the Dharc back, which I will then immediately send away for a Thunder Dragon Colossus. We'll then special summon the Assault Synchron, sync it up with Chaos Ruler, and then we get to make a Baronne de Fleur. So as you can see, that 1 mil that ended up getting banished with the tuning there actually made a world of difference. And it's funny, after this game, I had another duel against Flo where I got hit by a Dimension Shifter right away again, and I opened 2 tuning, and I did the same thing. I was like, I'm just going to activate my tunings and hope I send a Thunder Dragon monster off the top, and I did, and I was able to come back similarly to this game as a result. But yeah, that's quite a turnaround, isn't it? Thinking that we're going to have to go from just pass, with nothing on board, to having Baron and Colossus up against Floowandereeze. Just goes to show how surprising this deck can be. I didn't even expect when I built this deck to be able to play Under Shifter under certain circumstances, but here we are. So without any searching, Flo's already in trouble, but add an Omni-Negate on top of that, and yeah, it's probably just going to be a snap concede for my opponent. Well, I think they do so after I Ash Blossom this Extravagance. As if I couldn't make their hand worse, And there we go, there's the concede. So that's going to be a quick little game, but it was just a fun one I wanted to show real quick, because again, we actually did manage to somehow not just have plays, but have a really solid end board state, despite being under Dimension Shifter. Granted, it did take us, sending exactly the but exactly sending a Thunder Dragondark with the 1 mil off of tuning. But, we'll definitely take W's no matter how they come. In any case, we have a couple more games to take a look at. Let's go straight to the next one here. Alright, this duel, we're going to be up against Tearlaments once again, and we're also facing off against the dreaded Duelist B. Alright, so we're going to be going second this time, and we did open a Maxx, so we definitely love to see that, as well as all the various punk plays in our hand as well. And we have the Thunder Dragonhawk, so always nice to open that too. Opponent's going to start off with a Shiren pitching a Mudora. They end up getting to mill a Havnus and a Soliac off of that as well. One thing I will say about these Punk Synchro variants is that it is a little annoying to play them in this meta because of Shufflers. Shufflers do kind of hurt us. I mean, we can play around them most of the time, decently enough, but, yeah, it's definitely rough. It can be rough. It's not always rough, but it can be, so opponent's going to grab a Havnus off the Soliac and then a Scream off the Kiklos. I can only assume their back row is going to be a Soliac in and of itself. So, drawing for turn, the Maxx did end up finding us Assault Synchron. We actually end up finding 2, which is a bit overkill, but it's fine. Going to start off with the Ogre Dance to add a Deer Note. Basically, I like to start off with Ogre Dance and stuff like that, even if I don't need it, just to see if my opponent's going to have Disruption in the form of Ash Blossom, or I know I'll summon Amin and activate the effect even if I don't need it, just to see if they have the Imperm or if they're going to use it there. So our opponent did mill 3 off of the Scream. Wow, I didn't even realize this mid-game, but they milled the Keldek and didn't activate it. That's kind of wild. I have no idea why they would not proc Keldek there. Huh, I didn't even realize that until just now, but anyway. Gonna use the Deer Note to bring back... I'll bring back the Amin in this case. I know I said before that I always bring back the... what is it called? The Foxy tune. But here I'm going to bring back the Amin just because I know Pep is going to be stronger against the Spright board. Plus I wanted to banish Kiklos here. And I also wanted to have something that was unaffected because, again, I suspect my opponent's face down card is actually Soliac. So... my opponent uses a Ghost Warner and Moonlit Shield to negate my Chaos Ruler. It's actually a pretty good hand trap to use here in this particular case, because, there's no way I'm not going to use Chaos Ruler as a material, so it would also get to inflict 3,000 damage as well. But I realized something after my Chaos Ruler got negated. I thought to myself, wait a second. I've been very carefully trying to play around Soliac this whole time, and trying to get a board state where I don't have to worry about it. But now that my Chaos Ruler is negated and it's the only monster in my field, my opponent actually cannot use Soulyak because I don't have a monster for them to negate. I have a monster, but it's already negated, so they can't activate Soulyak's effect right now. So I'm just going to move to battle phase right now. This looks kind of weird, but by battling over the Kiklos now, I can get it off the field without having them mill 5, which is the main thing I'm concerned about here, and it will also turn off their Soulyak, which means they won't be able to negate any of my monster effects moving forward for the rest of the turn. So by giving out my battle phase, plus I didn't really think I was going to win here anyway. Like, you know, there's not really a chance I can put a game-ending board that doesn't also just get negated by Soulyak and then allow my opponent to mill 5 and just probably have plays from there. But again, I have that opportunity there with the negated Chaos Ruler, so I'm like, let's do it. Let's absolutely do it. We still have the Foxy in hand, so we get to use that to bring out another Amin, bringing back the Chaos Ruler. I also get to shuffle back my hand with the Thunder Dragonhawk, which is very nice. It finds me an Ash Blossom here. But yeah, now we can go into Baron, we can go into Pep, we can use the Assault Synchron to bring back Chaos Ruler. At that point, my opponent concedes. I'm assuming they just, you know, did not have the outs left in their deck. And yeah, I mean, my life points are still lower than my opponent's right now, so Pep is still unaffected. We have the Omni-Negate of Baron, and then as you saw, the Thunder Dragonhark was even able to find us an Ash Blossom, just in case my opponent top decks something that might be relevant there. But yeah, pretty nice game against Tearlaments there. We have one more duel against Tearlaments, actually, so let's go straight into it. And as mentioned, our last duel for this video is going to be against Tearlaments yet again. Yeah, I mean, this Thunder Dragon, I mean, these punk variants in general, really, like, I haven't found that they have too much trouble holding their own in this meta. I think a lot of people, like, will kind of get themselves in this mental rut where they're, you know, thinking to themselves, right, like, you have to play Tearlaments or counter them. You have to play Tearlaments or counter them. And it's true that if you are playing Tearlaments or counter them, you are going to have an easier time winning in this meta. But those are not the only things that are viable. I think even in Tier 0 meta, there's still room for innovation. And I am definitely going to keep doing so. But in any case, going to start with the Amin and then use Foxy Tune. Our opponent's got a Maxx, but we opened the Ash Blossom here, so that's pretty nice. Can't seem to find Call By like ever in this deck though. I think after this game in particular, I even had to look. I was like, am I playing Call By? Did I forget to put it in? But no, we have Call By in there. Anyway, gonna sync for the Chaos Ruler as usual. It's nice too that we have this Thunder Dragondark in our hand. We can potentially use that to make some plays there. Oh no, we already have one set up in grave. That's right. I meant to say in grave, not in hand, but. The Chaos Ruler is going to find us an Assault Synchron. You might have seen a Wyver Burster there. This is actually from a earlier build that was running a small Chaos Dragon package. But I ultimately determined that the Chaos Dragons just weren't really worth playing. They just weren't consistent enough. So I'm going to mill a Zombie Vamp, and I'm of course going to be taking my opponent's Tier 1 monster, so that way they cannot fuse with it. Zombie Vamp does actually allow for a good amount of combos in this particular deck, but in this meta, as always as ever, you have to be careful about how you use it. If you see any kind of Tearlaments monster in their mill, just take it. Just take it so they don't get to fuse. So this is a turn 1 in which we get to go for Cross Sheep. Gonna use that before going into Colossus. Now Cross Sheep's effect will bring back the Amin, and we still have an Assault Synchron here, so get to throw that down as well. Here is our Baronne de Fleur. And now we get to link off for the Spright Elf. Spright Elf will bring back Assault Synchron, although I obviously don't want to go for a 10 here. I'm just going to use it as a bit of a chump blocker and pass back to our opponent. So yeah, now we have a Baron and a Colossus that are protected by Elf, but the Colossus protection will not stop the Gandora here from the Kaiju from, you know, tributing over our Colossus. So that's a little bit annoying. But it's going to imperm the Elf. I don't know, maybe they forgot about the targeting protection. We're trying to hit the Baron, but I'll just fire off the Elf effect in response. I don't really have anything I'm trying to bring back, but I do have the Maxx in here, so I'll just go ahead and get that for just another chump blocker. Opponent's going to follow up with a Terraforming for a Pearl Arena, which will absolutely not end up resolving. I am of course going to negate that with the Baron. And even if my opponent does end up having a Rhinoheart as their last card, we thankfully still have the Imperm face down. Here, I don't know what's up with this Keldo. I think my opponent thought they were going to get to blow up with Perlerino mid-chain. I mean, I've made similar misplays before, like with Fairy Tail Snow. I always assume for some reason you can activate that effect mid-chain, but alas, we are not playing Magic the Gathering. We cannot interrupt the chain, so the Perlerino is going to get negated and destroyed before it can blow up anything on my field. And the opponent's going to concede after that. But again, even if one of my opponent's last 2 cards was another Rhinoheart just to make plays anyway, or rather a Rhinoheart in general to make plays, we still had the face down Imperm to go ahead and take care of that. So that's going to do it for those games. I hope you all enjoyed this deck. I definitely enjoyed building it and cooking with it. And there's a decent chance, I'm thinking right now, it's only, even though this is going up on Friday, I think it's only Tuesday at the time I'm recording this, but I'm thinking right now there's a decent chance I might even enter with this in the next MCS. Like, see if we can just top with another cool Assault Synchron punk list. Why not? So, yeah, that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Let's just move now to our outro. Alright everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the very end of the video like this. That means a whole lot to me. Not just personally, but it's also a great way of supporting the channel as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other means, you can of course feel free to comment and or subscribe right here on YouTube. I'm always looking to the comments section. You guys leave some pretty awesome feedback as far as like constructive criticism goes when it comes to deck building, gameplay, channel content, all that stuff. So feel free to leave your opinion down there. I will be sure to take a look at that there. And then subscribing is going to be the best way to get notifications of when these videos drop. That does happen every day, by the way, so if you're looking for daily Master Duel content, you've come to the right place. And there are more places where you can get some daily Master Duel content. If you check out the description below, follow the top link over to my Patreon page. There for just $5 a month, which is as much as you pay for a booster pack. You'll find a lot more value than a pack full of filler over there. We've got some previews for content upcoming here on the channel. We've got some exclusive games that are only posted over on Patreon over there. We've got some Q&As, and then you can also have your name featured in this lovely credit sequence where I thank all of the people who are helping contribute over there on Patreon. It's a huge support to the channel, and it really means a lot as well. So thank you everyone who is donating that is featured here on screen. And again, you know, it's not just a pure donation, you do get some more daily Master Duel content over there just for being a part of the Patreon. But I think that's about all the time that I have for today's video. Once again, I just want to thank you so very much for sticking all the way to the end of the video. Again, it just means a lot as I do put a decent amount of work into getting these videos out every single day. But that's about all the time that I've got for now. So without further ado, this is Xlex. I'm signing out, and I hope you have a fantastic day.